propose building. So maybe we'll get you to go over that a little bit.
Okay.
Again.
All right, we good.
We rolling?
We're rolling.
All right. Well, you want to start with that? Well, let's start. Like, how did you decide to get married?
How'd you propose, Grandpa?
Yeah. How'd you propose?
Yeah, he's the one who asked me to get married, and I thought he was absolutely out of his mind. I was not going to get married. Oh, I'm so young. And just
how old were you
started thinking about it.
How old were you both when you proposed?
Well, we proposed at Christmas time. We got married in January.
February.
Oh. Wow.
Well, we had to get married before Lent because you couldn't get married
that's
through
right.
Lent.
Yeah.
And if we would have waited after Lent, he would have gone to the Korean War. So that saved him from going away to the war, waiting.
Ooh, wow.
Did you know that at the time? Or did you do that? Or did,
It wasn't on purpose.
It
It
just-
wasn't.
Wow.
So, but we were just a couple stupid kids. I mean, sorry.
so you were
No, we weren't.
It wasn't really unusual.
no.
We got married at 19 and 17. Not really unusual. A lot of people were.
Mhm.
Yeah, I read we're in the 50s, we're in all of history. That's when people were getting married the youngest. Because they weren't going away to college, you couldn't afford it. The college was just way too expensive then. And so all of our friends got married around the same time we did. They were all around our age.
Did you have a big wedding?
Well, we had quite a few people come, but we only had a maid of honor and best man. His oldest brother was the best man, Jim, and my oldest sister was the maid of honor. But we had several people.
Oh, a lot of people.
Yeah,
I'd say.
and we had the reception at my house. But we had a morning wedding because we got married in the church. And back then, you had to fast before you went to communion, so you couldn't wait till later in the day because you
Couldn't eat anything, could you?
No, couldn't eat anything. So we had wedding breakfast. So after the wedding, we had wedding breakfast in Cunningham's in Louisville. And then we went the whole day, and then that night we had a reception at my mom and dad's house. And everybody came, and the weather was terrible that day. It was February, it did everything. In the morning it was cold, then it rained, then it sleeted, and then it snowed. Did it hail?
Everything.
But anyway, there was a lot of snow on the ground,
We
and
kinda thought-
everybody came. I couldn't believe it.
I remember feeling I did something wrong.
You were thinking that?
I think so.
Really? I don't see.
Because it was such a crummy day.
Well, it wasn't raining after the wedding. You know, it was just a little cloudy.
I think that's supposed to be good luck, though, isn't it, when it rains on your wedding day?
Well, it did everything that
I think
day.
they say that to make you feel better about it.
But we had people all over that house. And all the gifts that we got, I didn't have to buy one thing. We got everything, even an ironing board.
Oh.
I still had the iron skillets I got.
So
They're
then,
getting old.
I know is that when you got the apartment, Miss Nets, or was that right after? You
No,
got
we
married?
got an apartment at Larkwood. It was a
Uh-huh.
pretty nice apartment down the west end of Louisville. I
on-
liked that.
It was
And
on
then
Larkwood,
it was on
Which was-
Larkwood.
Market, Jefferson, Herman, Larkwood.
Yeah, it was a nice neighborhood, and it was a nice apartment, but his dad thought that we needed to save our money. So he knew about, well, your sister lived at Miss Nett's upstairs, and she was moving out. And they suggested that we move in there so we could save money, because it was only $25 a month to live there. But I didn't really care for it, so you were going to comptometer school at the time, and at night I would look at the newspaper for a house every night because I wanted out there so bad. And that's how we got to Jeffersonville, our first house. We were able to afford our first house in Jeffersonville,
Okay.
and it was a brand new house. And it was 10,950, but it was just a little ranch, 3-bedroom ranch. But it was nice and clean, is what I liked about it. And
We had a big yard too, and it was a nice
Mhm.
area, and a big open field in back of our house.
and I'll never forget when Bob Corbett came over, his brother, and he looked around. He said, and he got on the phone with his mom. And says, "You should see this place. It's a mansion." I thought, "Oh my God!" It was just
You
a
know what
little
it, you know what it cost us?
10,950.
$10,950.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Did you
Oh, man.
have like a mortgage, or did you have?
Oh, yeah.
What was your down payment?
Close to
$1,000.
$1,000.
Did you have to
We
get help
saved
for
up
that, or you
$1,000.
saved it? That's awesome.
Yeah, we saved $1,000.
So that's pretty good because.
That is pretty good.
making what
Well, we
we
only
wanted.
paying $25 a month rent.
Yeah.
But he went to comptometer school the whole time we were at Miss
What is
Ned's.
comptometer school?
I don't even think they have comptometers
Comptometer is
anymore.
it's an adding machine,
Hmm.
you might say. But it was very, very complex.
Mhm.
You could make anything. And you push the keys.
It's like a computer.
And he worked at the L&N office with my brother. My brother got him the job.
So how many hours a week were you like you were going to school and working? So it's probably a long week.
Well, he worked at night,
Okay.
and not worked at night. He went to comptometer school at night. How long did you go?
I don't know.
So
Remember.
comptometer, is that something you need to know for work, for your job?
I think you need to know that for Kellyville service, didn't you? Because you were
No,
working
No,
part-time for
I
them.
got it
Oh, you need it for.
for Yellen.
Well, I remember when we were living on Larkwood, our first apartment, you had to study tests to get the job at L&N, and you were so nervous about it, and you did pass the test. And
That's an interesting thing. The boss was a Catholic. And
everybody in the office
I
was Catholic.
wouldn't tell you for truth the story because it might be, but the last 20 people who was hired were Catholic. And it was based on the fact
They
that you
passed
had
the
to pass
test.
the test, and the Catholics had,
More of a private school education.
what's a good word?
More of a
College
private.
prep.
Yeah, it was
It
college
was college
prep.
prep. You didn't take any shop or mechanics or nothing. It was college prep. So you were good at that part. So you could pass the test for the L&N. And, but say the last 20 guys who were hired there were all Catholics. But I think the boss had something to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you had to pass the test, but.
You had to pass the test,
Well,
yeah.
you started out in the stationery department, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then went up to rates. Did you have to
Overcharge.
overcharge department?
And so what was that? What did you do? And then,
We had, actually, if it was overcharged, if people were overcharged, we had to pay them back. And the people, and I had that job at one time, where I had to decide whether they got the money or not. And I was good. I let them have a lot of money.
okay.
So was it a hard transition, like into adulthood, living with each other out of your family's house?
I'm sorry.
Was it a hard transition, like from living with your family to like living together, like from childhood to adulthood?
It wasn't for me. I don't know about you. Was that hard for you?
No.
Good.
So,
We got married on the 16th day of February, and I think her ovulation was over, so she got pregnant the first time she could. And
Here I am.
Unfortunately,
you guys are
she
here.
was,
Another good reason.
There's the
Married in
product.
February, Mom.
what time, you were born on the 13th day of November.
No, ninth day of
Ninth
day
November,
of
6
November.
weeks early.
6
She was
weeks early.
premature,
6 weeks.
And
and
then
she weighed 4 pounds, 11
Right
ounces.
at,
And I
months,
couldn't
but
take her home.
the first time I counted that up when I was a kid, when
I know, I can imagine,
I
yeah.
was so nervous, I counted it wrong. I came up with 8 months. I was like, no.
Well, I'll tell you, back then that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But, no, you were 6 weeks early. You were due the end of December.
And I was in the hospital for like, what?
2.5 weeks.
Man,
They wouldn't let you go home till you got 5 pounds.
were you guys a nervous wreck?
Yeah,
You
I was
had a
constantly
baby
going
and a
up
baby's
there,
in the
yeah.
hospital?
Well, I remember when I brought you home that, I guess this is from being so young, that, if you spit your milk up, I would cry.
Oh.
I did. If she spit her, I'd just cry my eyes out.
Well,
Were a lot of your friends having kids around the same time too? Or your sisters?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Did you
Friends
help each
were
other,
too.
Did you help each other out, kind of, or like talk to each other
I
about
don't-
your kids?
Yeah,
Try to
we
figure out
did.
what's normal.
I tell you, I talked to Mary Lee more than anybody else, my sister-in-law. I mean,
Well, they got married
we
4 months
talked-
after us,
yeah, we talked a lot when the kids were little.
and we had the kids together.
I think Carolyn was just,
And he
Same
used to
thing.
stay with Carolyn a lot. But I think I talked to Mary Lee more than I did my sisters after that.
Did you, real quick, let's go back a little bit. Did you have a honeymoon? Did you do a honeymoon?
I don't
or
think we
anything
did,
like
did
that?
we?
No,
Okay.
I don't think we,
I
no.
think I went to work on Monday,
You just went to work.
Yeah.
I think so.
All right.
Did you know you were gonna have 6 kids, or did you not have any plan on that? Like, did you ever think about how many you want?
Well, I didn't think about that. Just the rhythm system doesn't work.
It probably works better now than it did then. but-
Did they have birth control back then, or did that start?
Yeah, they had birth control, but
Like hormonal pills, I mean?
no.
we were awful strict Catholics back then,
Yeah.
and we let them make the decision, I guess.
Yeah.
But I've changed a little bit on that, but
That's funny.
Well, you had all of you guys are 2 years apart, right?
except
So
for
just
Leslie
Kim,
and
3,
Kim,
yeah.
they're 3 years.
Okay.
What's it cost to have a
Pretty
baby now?
expensive. What does it cost?
Like hospital bill wise, or like every year how much
Yeah.
diapers you're buying wise?
Well, with us, we didn't pay any hospital bill at all. We had good insurance back then. Everyone had good insurance back then. You never
Really?
paid a cent when you left the
What
hospital.
happened? What changed?
I
Population
think
grew
what
and
happened
inflation.
was those, what they call
Oh,
them,
HMOs.
HMOs started the high
What's
insurance.
HMOs?
Health maintenance organizations.
Yeah, that's what started it.
Huh.
But
Started when
before that, everyone had good insurance.
Huh.
Everybody.
It started when I worked for the insurance company, the oil companies when I lived.
Why would HMOs cause people to have to pay more?
Well, it was another entity coming into the system is going to manage the health care. And so
So
all the
middleman.
people that work there have to make money. It's just another level of management.
I really don't know how it worked, but
Yeah.
anyway, people used to have good health care, and they don't now. I wish they could get it straight now. I think what they need to do is study these other countries, how they do it, and try to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
Because as I understand, they say that ours is the only country that doesn't have good health care.
I think in Canada it's good, but then their drugs are way more expensive than ours, I think. I don't know that for sure.
Like the further south you go, the cheaper the drugs are.
Maybe. If you're getting them on the street or in the legally.
No,
It
like
depends.
they're, you know, like wholesale down in Mexico or Central America. They're
didn't know that.
really, really cheap. Really cheap.
I guess because they have to sell them somehow, and people down there don't have as much money. I really don't know.
I don't know. Well, the peso's not worth anything anymore. So.
Well, the secret is just stay healthy. Try to stay as healthy as you can.
Yeah, preventative
Yeah,
stuff.
just take care of
That's
yourself.
hopefully what I'll be doing. a little
Yeah.
bit. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Back to you guys. So you didn't pay anything for having babies.
Mm-mm.
You bottle fed all of
The
them, right?
doctors wouldn't let you breastfeed. They
What?
said it was too much trouble. Ours, the only generation, would not let the ladies.
So it was weird to breastfeed
It was weird to breastfeed.
in the
Yeah.
50s. That's
Uh-huh,
interesting.
in the 50s. But then after I had my kids and they started going back to breastfeeding again,
Were you
I found
mad?
out it was good.
Were you mad? Were you like, darn
Well,
it?
I really didn't think about it. I just remember sterilizing a lot of bottles.
I remember you sterilizing the
Yeah.
bottles, it was constant.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
But
Did
I
you?
did.
This is probably TMI, but like, did you have to pump like to relieve some of that pressure?
No, they gave you some medicine that dried it up.
Really?
Yeah, I
Give you
didn't have
hormonal
any
medicine?
trouble
That is interesting.
at all, but I didn't breastfeed any of my children.
Hmm.
They just didn't encourage it at all.
That's so
No one in our
interesting.
generation did, I don't think.
Was it? Do you think it was maybe because some women were working more, or were they?
I don't know, that was a time in the 50s where they were trying to control everything, I think. With medicines that, I don't know, it's just a different time than it is now. It wasn't gearing towards what was natural.
Was that the time
It was
when they
more
were?
artificial.
Was that the time when they were starting to say like fat is bad, like low fat diets, and like introducing more processed foods? Out of curiosity.
I think that's more your mom's generation when
Okay.
that started
So
to.
That was like the 70s, 60s that
It
they
was-
were.
The low fat thing was about a 20-year, somebody decided that fat was bad, eating fat was bad for you, I don't know who it was. And once it started rolling, it didn't stop for 20
And
years.
people are so obese
It
now.
Yeah.
it just beat on you day after day after day. I've never seen anything like it. I thought I was gonna go out of my mind if they didn't stop saying eat low fat. And the whole time they were saying eat low fat, people started eating more carbs.
Well,
Yeah.
sometimes
Processed
I am
food, started getting fatter and fatter and fatter.
sometimes I'm absolutely shocked when you see some of these young girls, how big they are. I mean, really, really heavy, to the point where I don't know if they're gonna live very long.
I know, I keep thinking when these
It was
younger
just really
ones that are
bad.
so overweight now get in their 50s and stuff,
And it's the
Especially with our
past,
more sedentary lifestyle mixed with our new food choices.
yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's sitting in front of the computers or TV and eating and eating and eating and,
Has that been one of the biggest changes you've seen through your
oh
life?
my, when I started the bridal shop in
Mhm.
1977, the largest girl I would have to say would be a 16.
Wow.
Yeah, you wouldn't see anybody, even the bridesmaids were small. And then by the time I finished in 2000, they were special cutting dresses because they couldn't even get into a 24.
Have the
They were-
tuxes been the same way? Like you've had
Yeah.
to continuously buy bigger and bigger
Mhm.
tuxes?
You've got pretty good sized ones, but it was just
I don't think so.
unbelievable.
I don't think the men, they're always fat.
They've always been big.
No, from 1977 to 2000.
You've seen that. big
But
change.
Dan, you
Just
said
they went
before
up,
that
up.
they got taller, bigger though, through the years. The
Well, yeah,
guys.
a little
Yeah,
bit,
they've gotten
but
bigger.
Nothing
The
like,
shoe sizes, tell them about the shoe
Oh, yeah.
size. Tell them
Um,
the shoe size in 1977. Was it average was around a 10?
Tim was a big shoe,
Now they want 16 and 17s.
it's
Wow.
dumbfounding, and I remember the first time I saw it, as a kid about this big around, and I said, "What size shoe you wear, son?" And he said, "14s." What? I had to go look. Couldn't believe it.
That's how my friend John is.
I
He's
don't know,
that
I can't
way.
imagine how
Now they're wearing really lot larger shoes than they used to.
Yeah.
And the
That's
girls
interesting.
definitely have gotten bigger from 77 to 2000.
Hmm.
It was unbelievable.
There's a really funny video. This is a side note, but there's a really funny video I want you guys to watch when we're done about food. What like the Food and Drug Administration has recommended for your plate throughout the years. It's a really funny video.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Well, there was a couple of questions I had.
Yeah.
Well, just to cover it, as far as other jobs you had, Dad and Mom, you had that office job when Kim got old enough in school.
Oh yeah,
What
with the
did you
United
do?
States Steel Office,
United
yeah.
States Steel, okay.
I did their filing and answered their phone
Mhm.
and took their mail to their desk and everything.
Mhm.
I did it as part-time. I needed to get out of the house. He was always at work, and I just got tired of being by myself and doing the same thing over and over. So I got that part-time job at Kelly Girl Service. And he got me the job, actually.
Oh, really? It was through.
Well, the first Kelly Girl Service job I got, it was part-time, and it was at this, was it a hat factory? Remember? And he went out of town. Well, by the time he got home, I'd already quit.
Oh,
That was the tackiest place I ever saw in my life, and I was not about to work there. It was awful. Those, I'd never seen such trashy acting girls in my life.
wow.
And so, remember, I quit. You got home and said, "What'd you quit for?" I said, "I'm not working with them." So after, well, when Kim and Leslie were little, Billy, I got a job with the United States Steel Office. And then they wanted me to work full-time, and I said, "No, I can't," because my housework was suffering from just doing part-time. So I didn't. I finally quit that.
Dad, so you went from L&N to Kelly? Is that,
I went from L&N to Jim to Mars.
okay, and then but you worked, how did you end up, was Kelly just,
Kelly Girl Service part-time.
oh, it was always part-time?
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks in January, and I used my paid vacation, and I used it all up.
Oh, you used your vacation to go to
In
work
January.
for Kelly? Oh my gosh.
The
Okay.
boss liked it because he didn't have any worry about finding any time to get my vacation in.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
done.
January was easy.
Oh, you had to make
I didn't know
money
you
with
were
6
working
kids.
Kelly on your vacation. Well, that's,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
thank you for working that hard, gee. But,
What was the service that the Kelly?
Kelly Girl Service, I think they're still around.
What'd they do? Like, what was their service?
It's a part-time.
Uh,
it's-
Say if you have a business and you need part-time work, you go to Kelly Girl Service and ask them to send you for someone.
It's like a
mostly-
temp agency.
Mhm.
Mostly stenographers and skilled
Mostly office work.
Huh.
skilled jobs.
Cool.
Mhm.
so,
I guess they're still around.
so you went to Meyer and you were there quite a long time.
How many years
So-
were you at Myers?
You worked at
I
Meyer?
wa-
It's
No,
supposed
that's
to be
no,
MUI.
this is-
No, his brother's business.
Myers and.
His
was-
brother married a girl whose father owned Sam Myers. His name was Sam Myers Tuxedos. And
Oh, and that's how you got into the tuxedo business.
and Mary Lee, that was his wife's name, Jim's wife's name, and she said that if Jim doesn't soon get some help, the doctor said he was going to have a nervous breakdown. He just needed help. So you went to help Jim, didn't you?
I guess.
But it didn't work out real well because we picked up a lot of resentment from Mary Lee for us being there.
Hmm.
One time she called me one day and said, well, Jim's not gonna hire another Corbett like Bob, says, we can't afford another humongous salary, which he wasn't making a humongous salary. He quit L&N making more money and less hours than he was making at Mars. He was working more hours, less money. I thought, well, we need to get out of their way, you know, because their sons were getting to the point where they needed to work there. So that's when we came up here.
So how did you end up moving to Indianapolis? What happened? So as far as
We had a customer
yeah.
here, and I came to visit him quite often, a couple times a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, he must have at some point said he was interested in selling his business. And Sam had come to work for us, and Pat was getting ready to go to college.
Yeah, the kids were
Graduated from
coming.
college, and he had 2 more sons, so most likely I was gonna just go down.
Yeah.
And, of course,
Well,
the
I
other
think
two,
Jim was catching heck too from
Yeah.
Mary Lee every day.
yeah, like,
So-
he didn't want that to not even want the salary.
Yeah.
So you
So-
said, you just said, okay, that's it,
Yeah.
we'll buy a business and,
And I was ready for a change.
yeah.
I really was. And I says, well, I can do a bridal shop. There's no problem. I can do that. And I remember how excited I was. I had all these plans what I was going to do. I'm going to redecorate this place. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I was really excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I got into the bridal shop, I said, when did I do this for? It's hard. In fact, one of the salesmen, the tuxedo salesman, told me when he heard that I was going to do that, he says, you know, Mary Helen, that's the toughest business you can get into. I said, so I can do it.
Well, was it mainly dealing with brides or like dealing with manufacturers or?
It wasn't too bad till, you know, well, like when I first got in there, the order that came in for bridesmaids, they sent the dresses in all different dye lots. They didn't send them in one group, so they were cut off of different dye lots. I had to find someone to make them dresses. You know, I was just nervous. I was a wreck. And just things like that would happen.
So like the wrong color would come in.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
the colors, like, they were blue, but some were light blue, some were medium blue, some were dark blue. They were cut off with different fabric dye
Oh,
lots.
that's terrible. That's
And that was Alfred Angelo. And I never ever bought another dress from Alfred Angelo again. But the lady before me bought from Alfred Angelo. But after that happened, that came in, and that was new. And I says I would never ever buy Alfred Angelo's again. And I didn't. So that's one thing I did. I went to New York and searched out some good manufacturers. And we ended up having much better.
Is that what inspired like Leslie to go into? the
Yeah,
bridal
Leslie
business?
started in the bridal shop when she was still in school. Leslie and Kim, they would come in. Well, Kim was too young at the time, but Leslie would open up the boxes in the back room. That's how she started bridal.
Nice.
She would open the boxes up.
High school.
But
She's
she was
worked
in
at
high
it
school.
Almost completely ever since.
Ever
except
since
she
high
had
school.
a job for a while in Houston at a nice department store.
Yeah, she worked for,
That was the
they're out
only
of
place.
business now.
I
But
should
she
know
got a
that.
lot of training there.
Merchandising.
But she did, that's how she started bridal, opening the stock.
This is random, but did you guys have someone do your taxes for you, or did you try to figure all that stuff out, owning your own business?
Well, didn't
Like, that'd
we
be so
do
hard.
it at first, but then we finally got someone doing the taxes for business. We finally had, well, I tell you what's
I
kind
did
of,
the bookkeeping, but we
you didn't
always,
do, always.
we had the taxes.
Well, I can still see their faces now. When we opened the bridal shop, here come this guy in with his, straight out of school with a tie and suit and everything. It was Ron Modlin. He wanted to be our accountant. So he was always our accountant. Ron Modlin, straight out of school. Our dentist, was straight out of school, and our lawyer, we still have the same lawyer from 1977, Ron Wright. And, but our accountant died. He died fairly young. He had pancreatic, esophagus cancer.
Mm.
Yeah. And, but our dentist has retired. So we should be retired because our doctors retired, our dentist retired. The only one that's left is Ron Wright, that's still working, our lawyer. But you had to have help with things like that.
Yeah, let me see. I had a few more questions about when you guys were raising your kids.
I think we had fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was neat.
We had. We were very 50-ish family, where the meals were always on the table on time.
Absolutely.
The house was always straight and
And
clean.
Dad would get home at the same time.
He
it
would
seemed
be
like we
home the
ate
same
at
time.
5:30 or something like that every day.
You got out of work at 4:30.
5, did we eat at 5? I was gonna say 5, but I thought, how could you?
When he worked at L&N, but once he worked at Marsville, he worked a lot of hours then.
But it was very, Mom, they worked
Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot,
Yeah.
hard, but it was very, very
had a
stable
system.
and nice.
I had a system. I straightened my house every day, and beds were always made.
You know,
Always. And then once a week,
tell your system.
and once a week, Fridays would be the hard cleaning.
Yeah.
That's when you remember me on my hands and scrubbing that tile floor.
Didn't you have something you do on Monday and something on Tuesday?
Yeah, I always had a day I did things. So, but you had to, with so many children, you had to be organized.
Did you make them help?
No, I told them get out of the house and play.
It was out of the way,
Did
so
it
you could
yourself.
Get it done.
Get out of my way.
We did do some dishes. I
Yeah.
will say we did some dishes.
Yeah.
I don't know if we did very many dishes. I do remember doing some dishes, so. Gosh. I don't ever
But I don't
really
remember,
cleaning up my
I
room
really
or-
don't remember whether I made y'all do very much or not.
You had a yard too. Did you do the yard work? Grandpa, did you do it? Was there yard much work? Yard work
Answer
at all?
that.
Uh-oh.
I must have cut it a couple times.
I cut the yard.
Well, we were, I made, when I left the L&N Railroad, I made $105 a week. And that was a good job. That was a good job.
That was good then.
It was good. It was pretty good. And she could go to the grocery store and get enough groceries for
For
2
$40.
weeks. $40 for 2 weeks.
Wow.
One day I went over $40 and I thought oh my God, what are we gonna do? I went over the $40.
I wish I could get 2 weeks worth of groceries for $40.
Oh gosh, yeah, just us two now. We go to the store, it's always over $100.
It's always over 100.
Yeah.
We,
Gee.
And I remember when I was expecting Leslie, talking about getting things done, when I was expecting, the doctor thought I was gaining too much weight. So back then they gave women anything. So they gave me this, he says, you take this and it'll curb your appetite and you won't gain weight or anything. So I took it. Well, I cleaned the house, I washed the windows, I washed the car, I cut the grass. I mean, to tell you, I was zooming. It must have been
I want that.
speed.
It must have been.
Yeah, and then I took it for about 3 days and then I threw it in the garbage. And I'm so glad I threw it away because you dip down, so much that you'd be tempted to take another one
Yeah.
because you dipped so far down. But I threw it in the garbage, and I thought, thank God I threw that in the garbage.
That's
Just
weird to
yourself.
give you speed when you're
They
pregnant.
gave you anything back then,
Wow.
anything. They didn't let you breastfeed. They didn't believe in nature then. Everything was artificial.
Oh.
Yeah, they can improve on nature.
Interesting. I don't really think about the 50s that way.
Yeah.
At least I don't.
It was.
It's
It
very
was
like
that.
industrial.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, and I can remember people taught nothing of chemicals. I
Yeah,
remember
chemicals
people
were-
like washing your hands in turpentine after you
Yeah.
painted. And
Didn't you use like lead stuff
Just-
back then
oh,
too?
well,
so-
Yeah, they
lead
didn't think
and
anything of
everywhere.
chemicals or anything in the
lead paint,
50s.
lead pipes? I mean, I don't know how we're functioning.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm not.
Maybe the next generation is going to be even.
I'm gonna
Now
read-
they're more into what's natural.
Yeah,
and
that's a big
nature.
movement.
Except for the obesity. That's kind of bad.
What's gonna happen?
That's
Yeah,
real
I don't
bad.
see it
Still
stop.
there's still the whole, it just tastes so darn good.
Well,
People
they're
don't care.
so young too. I saw this young girl going into church Sunday. I mean, she could hardly walk. I mean, she was really obese.
I mean, they've got to have a lot of muscle underneath that. Because if I was wearing like a 300-pound bodysuit, I couldn't stand up.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, sometimes I
Yeah,
think
you
how
gotta have a
strong
little
muscle must be.
Well, they're not healthy. They can't be. That's too much of a strain on your
This is
heart.
a good lead-in. Do you remember when fast food got started, like the beginning of McDonald's and the beginning?
Well, I remember the first McDonald's we took y'all to. Yeah, it was out Dixie Highway in Louisville. You remember that?
Oh, I remember going.
That was the first time we went to. McDonald's just started,
We couldn't believe.
and
how
we
good it
loved
was.
those French fries. They were so good.
People raved about
About
the French fries.
McDonald's,
Nobody
yeah.
had ever had anything like McDonald's
I
French
know.
fries. They were
Everybody
unbelievable.
wanted
Have you seen the
those.
movie Founder?
I did. That was really
Yeah,
good.
well, but that was good.
Yeah.
And he more or less took that business from
I know
them.
he did,
That was.
but it wouldn't have grown like it did without
Yeah,
him.
he did grow it.
But was McDonald's really like the first fast food? Like before that, you really did have to you were like driving up and ordering.
We always ate home. We
You
didn't
always
eat
ate.
out. A lot of people eat out now.
Eating out was very unusual.
Very
I
unusual.
don't remember.
Well, on
this
my
one.
cleaning day though, I remember taking out to A&W root beer.
Yeah,
On your
A&W root
cleaning
beer was
day.
our big
Yeah.
place that we went. I loved that
Is that like
place.
ice cream?
I'd take one of those root beers right
It's
now.
root beer.
Very
And,
happily.
well, they would have sandwiches too.
You would get, it was car service. They would come up and hook it on your window or something, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And the tray would be right there, and you'd hand it to everybody in the car. And of course, people, us kids, we must have been spilling root beer in the car. Can't imagine. But I
It
think
was
the
good.
hamburgers or whatever sandwiches we
They
got
had
were good.
hamburgers.
But that frosty mug of root
Cold
beer
root
with
beer.
the foamy top, and
It was so
gosh, it
good.
was just heaven.
Thirsty.
It makes me want root beer, cream soda, or
Does
something.
it
Yeah.
taste like the A&W now?
Well, I do think it was
Is it
kind of a superior root beer, but I'm sure it was similar.
Yeah.
Okay. It was awfully good. And I gotta put in a pointer for our neighborhood because on Mockingbird and even Plaza Drive because we weren't that far away, but Mockingbird, we had a great big field behind our house where the kids played ball. We had a great big backyard, which was fun to play because we had a little hill in our backyard that you could roll down and stuff. And we had a circle down the street. We used to play ball down and kick ball and stuff down in that circle. We had a woods that we played in.
Kids were
up the
more
street.
free then than they are now.
Down the street
That was
the
pretty
other
free, I
way,
feel like.
down the street the other way, we had a huge old forest right along the Ohio River, and it kind of plunged down there, and so it was kind of scary down there. That's the reason we didn't play down there more than we did. You'd walk on this little winding dirt road into the scary big old forest, and get down to the river, and there was a marina down there. You could walk down and buy a Coke at the marina. That's what we would do. So that was, the whole area was great for kids, and we had the swimming pool and the ballpark, and so it was pretty neat.
And
It
your
makes me wanna be a
school
kid.
wasn't very
School
far.
was not, you could walk home from school.
Yeah. Wow.
I would walk to school only like in May if it was really nice out, once in a while.
remember when your dad brought y'all home driving backwards, or?
I don't think I was in the car for that one.
I think
I've
Leslie,
heard that.
oh, he picked Leslie and Kim up from school. He couldn't get the car to go forward, so we drove all the way home backwards.
That's some skill.
What was wrong with the car anyway?
That's a pretty bad problem.
Something
You'll
wrong
have to get
Something
Leslie
wrong
and
with
Kim
the
to tell
gear.
you that story. Something was wrong with the gear.
in the forward gear.
So you drove all the way home in reverse. You'll have to get Leslie and Kim to tell you that
Yeah.
story, because they were in the car, I wasn't.
And you've got to tell, I think the most famous story from our childhood was Paul took a test at school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was, I was, home, and I looked out the door, and Paul was only in the first grade. And here was Paul coming home, and it was a hot day, and he was just blood red and sweaty. We never let them walk, to school that young, and but he walked home by himself. I said, Paul, what are you doing home? And he said, Sister, we were standing in line. Sister said, if you can't do any better than this, you may as well go home. So he went home. So, and I called Sister Celeste. And I said, Sister Celeste, what happened here? She said, oh, that's where Paul went. I wonder where he was. She said what it was. Said I had all the kids in line, and Paul was in the back, and I just said, I didn't think he would go home after I said, if you can't do any better than that, you may as well go home. And he went home.
That is so funny. Oh my god.
And he walked home, because you
He
all always
walked
drove
home.
home the long way, kind of, and that was the only way he knew. So he
Aw.
walked home the long way.
Yeah.
So,
In the first grade.
Oh.
but
Tell him about what he said to you about, I'll never call you Diddy again.
I'm very sad
He always
about
called her
that.
Sissy.
He always called me Sissy. Well, when we moved to Mockingbird Drive, we had lived in an apartment, and there weren't any other kids around. And Paul and I were very close, and we played together all the time. And when we moved and got a little bit older, I met a friend, Susie Cobb, that lived down the street, and I started wanting to play out in the neighborhood, with my friends. And here's my little brother tagging along with me. And so one day I was kind of mean to him, and I told him I didn't want him to play with me. And he got real mad, and he said, I'll never call you Diddy again. And he never did. He never
called
me
you
Sissy again after that.
I wonder if he
I
remembers
told
that.
him, no, I've talked to him about it. I said, I apologize. He says, I don't remember it. I said, somewhere inside you remember this. I apologize to your subconscious. So, I'm sorry. But please call me Sissy.
That's so cute. How old were you guys?
Oh, we were pretty little. I don't know exactly. Probably I think I met Susie when I was 5, but I doubt I was going down to her house until
No,
I was a
you
little
weren't
older
out
than
there,
that.
not that
Probably
young.
7 or
Not that
8.
young,
Paul
yeah.
would have been 6.
Aw.
And so I do have a couple of questions. One of them is, what advice do you have for your grandkids?
What up?
That's a big one. So one thing I know that Dad's always said is that you've always said that you always had a job, no matter what. It's like you always, do you remember what I'm talking about? That you always went to work? Yeah.
Well, I went to work in 1950
Uh-huh.
at the Enroll Short Company. And I rode a bus, and I had to spread the material so the cutters could come and cut it.
Uh-huh.
And I haven't missed a day's pay since,
That's good.
not one. Now, I haven't made a lot of money. The tuxedo business is not lucrative. It's a job, and it's food, but it's not lucrative. And I've never really made any money by some standards. but I've never missed a pay,
Mhm.
never once.
Mhm.
And if I ever got to change jobs, the other pay was ready to come.
Mhm.
So I never missed a paycheck.
Well, what I would like to tell my grandkids, just care about one another, you know, just be there for one another. Because life gets tough sometimes.
Of course, the
And we
main
need
thing,
each other, yeah.
you gotta remember, a lot of times, like you did with Susie, you never change your brothers, because they're gonna stay with you forever.
Yeah.
So, you, should keep them
Yeah.
and respect them and love them,
Mhm.
because they're your brothers or sisters, whatever the case may be.
What was the hardest part of your guys' life, would you say?
Oh my God. Quite a bit of it. But it's just life.
Yeah.
That's what I told Paige yesterday, or today it was, yeah. I just told her, I said, Paige, life doesn't get any easier. It gets harder.
Yeah.
So do
very
what you
true.
have to do to make it easier on yourself. Because it doesn't get easier.
That's true.
But I think my thought all along was just trying to make sure I get everything done, you know, just get it done. And when I got out of the bridal shop, I was ready to go because it was starting getting to my nerves.
Mhm.
Because that's a job that you have to be calm for everyone, but then you go home and then you've got all
Yeah.
their problems inside you,
Yeah.
and but you have to smile and keep going, even though you don't really feel like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably have that time.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
So, but you just have to realize where people are coming from. You know, I got nervous when my kids were getting married, so I
Yeah.
understand why they were nervous.
Yeah.
But the worst thing I did in the bridal shop was this girl came in for a fitting. I was out in the front trying to put someone's order in the computer, and the front was just full of people, just so many people at you. And I was down trying to get it, and this girl came out of the fitting room in her gown, and she didn't like the way the alterations were going, and she started screaming in front of me, in front of all the customers. All the customers just screaming and yelling and blah 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 blah, and so I just looked up and I says, "Get out of my shop now, or I'm calling the police."
That's
And I
awesome.
yelled it. I screamed it, which I shouldn't have, but I did, because she made me that mad. Well, then after that, I went back in the fitting room with her and showed the seamstress what to do, and I said, "Now come back tomorrow for your fitting." And then when she came back the next day, a policeman came in to get fitted for the tux, and she thought I'd called the police on her. So she called me on the phone and said, "Mrs. Corbett, can I come in now?" I said, "Yeah, it's all right." But she thought I called
That
the
is
police
so
because they were.
I love it.
That's funny.
But she just had me really upset, and I know I shouldn't have screamed at her, and I know I shouldn't have threatened her, but I'd had it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, there's
In
one-
fact, after I said that to her, I went over to the tuck shop to wait on this man. He says, "You know that's bad for business." I said, "I don't care." I was that mad. Your alarm's going off.
Okay,
Is that okay?
it's 9
9
o'clock.
o'clock.
Is it 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
Second.